everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Heidi from My Reading Life, and I'm here today to film a TBR check-in and book haul. And unfortunately for the month of May, my TBR check-in is going to break my streak of wins that I've had over the course of 2023 to this point, because I did not go down in my numbers, shall we say. So let's just get to the numbers, shall we? Let's not mess around. Let's just go there. So I read a total of 11 books in the month of May. Only 4 of those were physical books read off my shelf. 10 books brought in, 0 books unhauled for a +6, which leaves me with a total of 110 books on the physical TBR. You know, it's all right. It's all right. May is traditionally a bad month for me in terms of my books and how many I bring in because it's Mother's Day. And it wasn't Mother's Day that did it to me this year. It was a vacation. So we'll get into that. I did not read any books off the Ancient TBR. The 4 are still sitting here. Haven't touched those. So that doesn't get reduced either. So, yeah, not particularly good. So 10 books that I brought in. Let's just get to it. The first book is a book that I did not get on vacation. In fact, I picked up in my local grocery store. There's a display of books that you can buy for $1. The donation goes to a local charity, and I happened to be walking by it and noticed this Book of the Month Club edition of Dominicana by Angie Cruz. And this book was all over BookTube a couple years ago, and I am wanting to read more Latinx books, and I don't have a lot on my TBR, and this book sounded good to me. This is a book about a young woman, 15 years old, yeah, a young girl, who moves from her home in the Dominican to America, and stuff that happens to her in doing that. So I've heard good things about this, and I've also heard some mixed reviews about it, but I figured for $1 it would be worth giving it a shot, especially since I want to add more Latinx authors and Latinx stories into my reading rotation. This would also work for Caribathon. So I don't know that I will get to it. I probably will not get to it this month, but I'm hoping to get to it at the very least for Hispanic Heritage Month in the fall. And then all of the rest of these books are books that I bought on my European vacation. So you may think to yourself, going to Europe from the United States, that's a long trip. And that's kind of, you know, probably you don't want to buy a lot of physical things to have to lug around with you, particularly because my husband and I were committed to traveling to Europe with just carry-on luggage. We didn't want to check bags, so we did just carry-ons, which worked perfectly well. And I was able to lug home 9 books, despite the fact that I didn't want to travel with a lot of luggage. So what did I purchase? These first 4 books I purchased while book shopping with Britta in Amsterdam, which is super fun. And the first one is Jane Austen by Lady Susan by Jane Austen. And this is one of those really nice Penguin classics, the cloth-bound ones. I don't have very many of these in my collection. This is actually a really tiny little book. See, as compared to like a regular paperback. And this book I will be reading in the month of June because it is the book that Britta has picked for her classics, 12 classics to read this year. And I will be joining along with her because this is the pick for the month of June. So yeah, excited because this is the last book by Jane Austen that I have not read yet. So looking forward to that one. I then also in Amsterdam picked up the next Elizabeth George that I need to read. This is Playing for the Ashes. This is in the Inspector Lynley mystery series, which takes place in Great Britain. And I have been buddy reading this series with Britta, and this is the next book that we need to read in that series. So I found this one in a used bookstore in Amsterdam. That was fun. And then I picked up Barbara Pym's Some Tame Gazelle, excuse me. Oh, I have some I have some postcards stuffed in there as well. I guess I can take those out. I really like this cover. I have never read any Barbara Pym, and many people have told me that she's excellent, and she writes sort of these early 20th century books about women, and I am interested in that. I like that style of book, and I wanted to give her a try. And when I saw this really nice cover, this is, who publishes this particular cover? This is Virago. This is a Virago press. So I was excited to see this particular edition and to finally have a Barbara Pym on my TBR to give her a try. This one is about the Mrs. Beatty, and so it's Harriet and Belinda and what they get up to in their, they have a quiet, comfortable life, but some folks come into that quiet, comfortable life and stir things up. So that should be fun. And then last but not least from Amsterdam, I picked up The Terraformers by Annalee Newitz. This is a science fiction novel. I had read Annalee Newitz, a nonfiction book by her. And this book I've seen recommended on several booktubers channels, and I am always looking for more science fiction written by female authors. So this one had been on my list, on my wish list of books to get. Britta also picked up a copy at the same time I did. So that's fun, and maybe we'll get a chance to buddy read this one as well. Okay, so that was what I picked up in Amsterdam. Now in Switzerland, I only ran across one bookstore that sold it actually, most of the stuff was not written in English, but they did have one bookcase that was English titles. So I, of course, had to buy a book. Well, I was in Interlaken, Switzerland, and I don't think I have the slip in here to remember what the name of that bookstore was, but if you're following along with my vlogs for my European vacation, when I get to the day where I bought this book, you will see the name of the bookstore. So this is Landlines by Raynor Winn. I read her earlier memoir, nature writing book. What was the name of that one? The Salt Path, which was about she and her husband hiked the Southwest Coast Path in the Southwest shoreline of England. And this one is actually she has 3 books in this memoir series. I haven't yet read the middle one, which is The Wild Silence. This one is the 3rd book, and this one is about her husband and she hiking a very treacherous path in the wilderness in Scotland. So her husband, who has been diagnosed with a terminal illness, they keep going on these hikes, and every time, like long distance hiking over months, and every time they do that, he seems to improve in his health conditions. And so he is, in this book, I've read the first 30 pages, so it's about he has failed quite a bit in his health, and she sort of tempts him with one more hiking trip, and can they do it? And so at this point in the first 30 pages, they're just gearing up. They've decided they're going to try this path in Scotland and see what happens. And it's a very, like I said, it's a very remote, inaccessible path. And so, like, it seems pretty crazy that you would take somebody who has very poor physical health and try to hike somewhere in the wilderness. So, but we'll see. We'll see how this goes. So far, it's really good. It's holding my attention. And I do really love that cover. That's a really gorgeous cover. And then these last 4 books, I mean, in my defense, I was on my way home on the airplane. We left Zurich and we had to fly into Heathrow, and we had a 5-hour layover in Heathrow. So there was a bookstore in the terminal that we were waiting in, and that bookstore was, I don't even remember the name of the bookstore, but it was having a buy one, get the second one 50% off everything in the store. And all of the books are the paperbacks, the larger paperbacks, which I really love. And so I went into the bookstore and I purchased 2 books, and then I left the bookstore and immediately had regrets and turned around and went back and bought 2 more books. So I bought 4 books in Heathrow, and they are How Bad Are Bananas? The Carbon Footprint of Everything by Mike Berners-Lee. And this is nonfiction, just what it says on the tin. It takes everyday items, everyday objects, and talks about how bad or good they are relating to their carbon footprint, and what things might be better alternatives. And yeah, this was recommended to me. I've forgotten her channel name. I saw a booktuber review this book, and I thought, yeah, that's exactly the kind of book that I want to read. And so I have not yet started it, but my husband read a lot of this on the plane ride home from Heathrow. He really was getting a lot out of it. So I'm excited to pick it up and try it myself. And I also bought Silent Earth, Averting the Insect Apocalypse, by David Ghoulson, and I have been wanting to try David Ghoulson. Doris has recommended this author to me multiple times as a nature writer, a science writer that I would really enjoy. I have not read enough about insects and what's going on with insects in the world today with climate change and human impacts on the world, and I've been wanting to try something, so this was the one that was available, and I've heard really good things about it, so I am excited to pick it up. And I actually did pick this one up. This is the one I read on the airplane coming home, and I read the first 60 pages, and it's exceedingly well written and easy to fall into, and I was really enjoying it. I just have not, I've had other things that I needed to read since I've been back, but I'm excited to get back to this one soon, hopefully. And then the last two, one I bought for a buddy read, and that will be happening just in a couple of days. I will be starting the buddy read. And this is Written in Bone, Hidden Stories in What We Leave Behind by Sue Black. Sue Black is, I believe, an anthropologist. She's a forensic anthropologist. And so this is all about what bones can tell us about what has happened to people. And I will be buddy reading this one with Patrice Jones and Rachel, two commenters and very excellent people to talk with about books. And I have buddy read with both of them many times, and I am really excited for the three of us to be buddy reading for the first time together, because they are my two, always want to read nonfiction with me. So I'm excited for the three of us to read nonfiction together, and I'm excited to read this book because I have not yet read any Sue Black, and she has several books out about this particular topic, and I think it's going to be really interesting. And then last but not least, I picked up Unwell Women, A Journey Through Medicine and Myth in a Man-Made World by Elinor Cleghorn. And this sort of follows on the reading that I did back with Rachel back in, I think it was March, that we read Invisible Women, which is about how statistics don't take into account women because many studies aren't done on women. They're done solely on men. And then Britta read this one, and she said it sort of dovetails really nicely with Invisible Women. And that is a topic that I'm really interested in, how women have been left out of medical research. And so therefore a lot of our medicines and our pharmaceuticals and our treatments are not designed for the female body, are not designed for females. And so, you know, that leads to poor health outcomes. And I am very interested in that topic. So excited to read this one. And again, like these covers, so excited about them. So yeah, I just couldn't resist. I mean, who could resist a buy one, get one half off with all these awesome nonfiction titles available to me? And my husband was kind enough to carry the backpack filled with my books all around Europe and all the way home. And luckily when we arrived back in Boston, we had a car, so I could put them in the car and drive them home to Maine. But that is what Heidi does when Heidi goes on vacation. She buys books. What can you do? So that is my May TBR check-in and book haul. It did kind of torpedo my progress in reducing my physical TBR, but I have hopes that this month I will get it back under control because I am reading quite a few books off the physical TBR, and so hopefully, knock on wood, I can get it back under control. I hope you're all doing well and finding some great books to read. I will talk to you later.